Hello once again, everybody, and welcome to the Tournament Poker Edge podcast, sponsored by JacaCoaching.com. I'm your host, Clayton Fletcher, and I am in beautiful, safe, socialist New York City. Happy, as always, to be bringing you yet another episode of the world's longest-running poker strategy podcast. I'm not alone. I have a returning guest. He was actually here just 2 months ago, and in that time he has made so much noise in the poker world that I called and I groveled and I begged and I pleaded for him to come back after his second place score in the NAPT 1K. He went down to the Bahamas and made the final table of the $26,000 super main event. You guys know who I'm talking about, Terrance TJ Reed. Terrance, welcome back.
Thank you, Clayton. What a 2 months it has been. And let's be real, you didn't have to grovel or beg. You sent one text message and I said, let's do it. So I'm happy to be back. Thanks for having me. I feel lucky to do this thing twice in 2 months.
Yeah, lucky is a good word for you these days. I mean, look, obviously, TJ, you've been working very hard on your game. You've been working hard on your content, building your online presence, as it were. You've been around poker for so long, as we discussed back in November when I had you on. And at that time, by the way, you had just barely passed me on the all-time money list. I don't know if you remember this. We were talking about how you had just kind of edged like right above. I was a little bitter because I had been a little bit above you, and then you had just won this $99,000 in Venetian, or was it Resorts World? Venetian.
Resorts World, yeah.
Resorts World. I was right the second time. So yeah, so you're at Resorts World, you win all this money, and then that win there bumped you up right above me on the all-time money list. And we were joking how I was about to make a comeback and win the WPT main event in Vegas in December, which, by the way, I ended up not even playing. Kind of a long story. But look, man, you have, since then, you've won over $3 million. So what's it like to go from grinder, content creator, poker reporter, whatever, to just being like, rich and famous? Just tell the fans about what it's like to be a multi-millionaire.
There's a lot to unpack there. Firstly, you say we were joking about me passing you. You were talking trash, Clayton. And that's I was not happy. Maybe I owe a little bit to you because you spurred me to make sure that I secured my spot above you, I'm going to say. And if you would have played the WPT championship, who knows what would have happened? Butterfly effect. Somehow I don't win for $3 million. These things have ripple effects. But regardless, what it's like, it's been a whirlwind. I guess we haven't spoken since I actually won the money. The outpouring of love and support have been so good and so incredible. Like, obviously the money's nice and the money's life-changing, but just to the reinforcement that, like, I'm loved in this community and I have a place here and a lot of people were cheering me on and I'm quote unquote good for poker. It helps, to have an established platform and a lot of people follow your content and know who you are. And working in poker media has allowed me to meet so many people, but sometimes we get 15 minutes of spotlight when we're on the biggest stage in poker and rise to the occasion and make a big chunk of change. And my phone, I've never had that many messages in a 3 or 4 day period as I did then, which was just incredible. We
were all rooting for you. It was exciting. It was like having, I don't know what you would say, one of us or something. You and I did some stuff together for Poker.org, and you're kind of a familiar face to so many of us around the game, and you're always a friendly face too. I remember when I forget what tournament we were playing in, but I was ribbing you because I was seated next to the beautiful Trishelle Canatella. She was sitting right next to me, and then when I busted her out of the tournament, my whole table was mad at me, and then you came and replaced her. It was like, what a letdown going from Trishelle to TJ. I mean, come on, man.
You really set me up for not being welcome at that table. How could I ever step into those shoes? Yeah.
But we had fun. You always seem to have a bright, positive attitude, and I would assume that making $3 million in one tournament would only spur that on even further. Like, I imagine you've been pretty bright and cheerful these last 2 months, right?
Yeah, I've been on top of the world. I mean, we grind and grind, and there's players who have played way longer than me and are way better than me who have never had a score like I just had. So I realize that I ran hot at the right time. I was locked in at the right time, whatever you want to say. I played one of the best tournaments of my life, but also got lucky in a few spots to get me there. And I realize how fortunate I am, and I'm not going to squander it or take it for granted. It's just been a couple months of a lot of asking and answering a lot of questions about what my life is going to look like now, and does this change anything? And still figuring some things out. But I'm can't say it enough. I'm fortunate and lucky to just be in this position in the first place. And poker has given me so much. I have tried to give a lot back, and I feel like it's a mutually beneficial relationship between me and the game. And now, it's given more than I've given for sure at this point.
Yeah, I mean, that attitude of gratitude is something that makes you so easy to root for. I mean, we want to see you do well. You're not taking this for granted. You're not walking around like, I'm clearly the best player in the world. That's why I made so much money. I mean, you got fourth place in this big tournament. Like, is that the biggest? I think it was the biggest guarantee of all time, $60 million, right? So, yeah, I mean, you're in a big tournament when fourth place is $3 million. That's a lot of money. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, really, there's only two tournaments a year that you can even make that much money, and that's the WSOP main in the summer and then the WSOP Super main in the winter. So these opportunities don't come very frequently, and not everybody even gets to play them. And this one was particularly special because, biggest guarantee ever, biggest final table ever, and unlimited re-entry means that all the super pros with unlimited bankrolls just got to fire as many times as they wanted to. So every table you went to was just, there's 4 people that you see on TV on a regular basis, And I got to play with a lot of my idols, a lot of the people that I watch and, look to for strategy and stuff like that. And, suddenly there's 2 of them across from me at every table I go to. And it was a really cool experience that culminated in a very fun finish.
Yeah, and when you needed to catch a card, you caught a card, and that's, you ran good, you played your best, and it all worked out, and all of us obviously are extremely happy for you. I want to ask you about something you just said. Does that affect your strategy early in a tournament like that? If you see somebody like, say, the obvious example, Daniel Negreanu, he has so much money, he probably doesn't mind re-entering that tournament 10 or 15 times if he has to. Does that affect your strategy? Are you less inclined to get involved in a pot where somebody that might be just willing to put you to the test when you're obviously on, I'm assuming, 1 bullet, right? So talk about that a little bit.
So I went into the tournament definitely firing once and probably firing twice. So I had plans to probably fire 2 bullets. And I did. I actually ended up firing 2 bullets. I cashed on my second one.
Okay.
To answer your question, it should change your strategy. I understand if it doesn't for some people, but it's actually the opposite. I'm more willing to get into pots with those people because I know they're more willing to get their chips in light, and they're more willing to gamble. I'm more scared of the guy who, hasn't 3-bet all day and then he suddenly 3-bets, because he's playing super, super tight. If D-Neg's 3-bets, 4-bets me, yeah, he's not going to make many mistakes post-flop, but he's also way more willing to gamble, way more willing to try to run up a stack. As an example, Texas Mike Munchak was treating this thing like it was a $200 nightly at the New Orleans. He was literally buying in, going all in blinds until he built a stack, and he did it. I enjoyed part of that process. So he sits down on day 2, I believe, and goes all in blind on his first hand with 6-10 offsuit. Guy calls him with ace king, and Mike Munchak makes 2 pair. So suddenly his stack is now $1 million from the 500K starting. And then the very next hand, he goes all in again, this time with 6-10 suited, and I have ace king suited, and neither of us improve, and I eliminate him. So Yeah, if you're scared and you're on one or two bullets like I am, like you hesitate to put that in. But against a guy that's doing it blind, you just say, well, I guess this is my time to either get some chips or get eliminated. So yeah, it's scary because, if they bust, they're just going to rebuy. And if you bust, you have to go back to your hotel room and eat ice cream. But that is the tournament that you're playing. And if those opportunities come, you just have to be willing to take them.
And you were willing to take the risk and possibly bust out early if you have the right hand against a player who is, being spasmodic. You got to go with it, right?
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to, but I think you should. And I understand people who, you never get to play a tournament this size, or you satellite in, or you're on one bullet. You don't want to bust in level 2, but that's the tournament you signed up for. You have to know that the structure, the rebuy rules, the field that's there dictate that you're going to be faced with a lot of these spots. And you have to get chips somehow. So if somebody's willing to hand you a whole starting stack and you have a huge advantage in range versus range, just go for it.
Very cool. That's great. Yeah, I want to get into some strategy later on. I know we're going to talk about a hand that you brought to discuss from it. I also wanted to highlight something that's going on lately. Obviously, my listeners know that we are, obsessed with Jaca Coaching, not only for Faraz, but you've got Kevin Rabichow, Thomas Boyevin, like all of these crushers that are accessible, where we can actually chat virtually with them in real time as they discuss high-level poker concepts, kind of focusing on one element at a time. They've been really good to us. They give us a great offer just for our listeners. You go to jaca.poker/TPE and you can get a week free trial, 7-day free trial without having to pay. And then when you are ready to join, you save 20%. So I hope everybody out there will do that. And especially because next week, you are actually going to sit down one-on-one and review some key hands from your big score with the king himself, Faraz Jaca. So talk about that. How did this come about? What's going on? You and Faraz, it's exciting.
I'm very excited. I think this one's going to be huge. My background with Faraz, he was the first training site that I signed up for, studied with early in my career. So while I'm not on the site now, I still claim to be a part of the community, and they welcome me, and I'm still in all the group threads and stuff like that. So love Faraz, love his training session, owe a lot to him early in my career. And, he was deep with me in the final few tables as well. He made this final 2 tables, I believe. So we were chatting, as we're bagging up, and at the end of the night, we talked through some hands together and stuff. So he celebrated with me. He was happy for me. And then this seemed like a natural thing to do. Sometimes they do these study sessions, and this one, very rarely are they completely free and live, so that anyone who wants to can hop in, engage, ask questions. The idea being, I think it'll be more beneficial than even some others that they do, because I still have a lot to learn in this game. And so I'm going to approach it with an open mindset and be willing to learn and ask questions. I'm going to share honestly what my mindset was in each hand and why I made each decision. And Faraz is probably going to tell me you're an idiot sometimes, and that's a learning opportunity. But other people can also ask questions, and we're all going to learn together. And I think it'll be really cool. Basically, we've clipped together pretty much every stream that I played. We're going to talk through the decisions. Some of them are easy and simple. Some of them are very complicated. And, I'm excited to just get into the weeds with him and the hundreds of other people that are going to be there watching live.
Yeah, well, that's something that I'm not going to miss. I will absolutely be on there with you guys, chatting away and just enjoying hearing 2 of my favorite poker guys talk strategy, and just having the stream footage and kind of all the details of each hand, where we sometimes later on we have to sort of piece them together from memory, but you actually have that stuff. So, I mean, it's great when you're playing one of the most watched, most covered tournaments. You're not going to get those details wrong, and that will really help us make sure that we're thinking about the strategy in the correct way and seeing all the variables in play. And obviously, Faraz is one of the all-time great tournament players. In my mind, he's top 3 or 4. And just to have the opportunity to watch you sit down with him and talk about your deep run. And did you guys have any hands together, or were you never at the same table?
We were very briefly at the same table, I believe, on one of the days, but I don't think we really interacted in any way. It's funny. We keep joking about this. We both are, running the same circles. He usually plays a little bit bigger than I do, but for the amount of tournaments that both of us have played over the last 5 years, I think we sat at the same table twice. The first time was at NAPT in November. Literally, our table broke like 3 hands in. We were sitting right next to each other, looking forward to playing a full day together. Our table broke, and then at the Bahamas, we sat together very briefly. And the fact that both of us made the final 2 tables and we didn't really play together at all is kind of crazy. But I love Faraz and looking forward to this one a lot. It can be a little intimidating, sitting down in front of hundreds of people and sharing your thought process and why you made your decisions for everyone to see, only with the goal of learning, but that's a unique opportunity, and I think it's a really cool thing that has come of this, and I'm looking forward to sharing it with everybody. Can I tell the link to sign up, or is this the time to do that, or are you going to share it somewhere else?
Yeah, we're going to put that in the description of the podcast. First, you guys need to sign up with what I already mentioned, which is jaca.poker/TPE, and you do have to, I think, give your email address and stuff like that, and then click the link in the description. And this is all happening. Is it next Wednesday, right? Next Wednesday? Is it next
I know
Wednesday?
it's the 28th. So yeah, next Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific, I believe.
Right. So 8 on the East Coast. And I'm sure that, like you say, Terrance, there's going to be a bunch of spectators for this. It's going to be live streamed with chat, and we can ask questions like, hey, Faraz, what about this? Stuff like that. So it's very interactive the way they do these things. So I'm really looking forward to the hand history review and hearing you guys talk strategy together.
Yeah, for all you armchair quarterbacks who sit there and criticize my fold or how could I call there, come in and say it to my face next Wednesday.
That's right. And use your real name too. Yeah, none of this screen name BS. So make sure you guys sign up so that you can be ready, and we'll release that link, and make sure you guys can join the chat. It's going to be fun. It's always fun talking poker with Terrance, and that's what we're going to do now. I also want to let you guys know we have our deal with GTO Wizard. You can get 24 hours unlimited access to all of GTO Wizard's wonderful features, including the ability to put in variables such as whether you are playing in a mystery bounty or a PKO or just a regular tournament, whether you're in the money or it's not an ICM situation. You can do all of that, and the Wizard will help you figure out what a perfect robotic artificial intelligence crusher would do in your shoes. I promise you the Wizard will always beat you in the long run, but we can all try to do better to keep up with the robots the best we can. So you save 10%, and that link is gtowizard.com/p/TPE. All right, TJ, I know you're about to play day 2 of something today. Where are you, Thunder Valley?
Yeah, Thunder Valley, and just outside Sacramento in Northern California. It's really one of the closest stops to me, even though it's a 5-hour drive away. But yeah, I just got back from vacation 2 days ago, did a load of laundry, immediately drove down here yesterday, hopped in the $400 monster stack at the circuit, and bagged, we bagged like 2x average coming back today shortly after we finished this. So wow. We're going to lock in with, get some strategy talk so I can get the mind right for today.
Yeah, this will get you all set. As we record this on Thursday, the 22nd, you're about to go play actually today. This will be released tomorrow on the 23rd, so we can all check and see if you ended up, crushing this thing and maybe making yet another final table. Before we do your strategy hand, though, I have to ask you, what's it like going from playing a $26,000 buy-in and winning $3 million to going to some little circuit event with a $400 buy-in? Is it hard for you? Be honest with me. Is it hard for you to take the low stakes seriously, or do you always kind of value the dollar no matter what, no matter how many of them you have?
I think it is a little difficult to take it as seriously. It's just hard knowing that like the most you can win in this tournament is probably going to be what your entry fee was in that other tournament,
Right.
So I have a hard time playing playing poorly. Like you still know what the right decision is, and you know, you have to intentionally try to not play poorly. Sometimes it's more difficult to like really lock in and focus and like pay attention to all the variables at the table and try to get reads on people. And but when you look at your cards and you look at your stack, you know, you still know what the right decision is and you want to make it. I'd say it's much easier to be extremely willing to take whatever spot comes your way, right? If you know it's close and you're like, yeah, I probably don't have to take this spot, it's easier to be like, it's $400.
Right.
You know,
it won't hurt as much. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, a privileged position, but it is what it is. You know, when you're normally playing, you know, 0.5% of your bankroll for every tournament on average on ABI, whatever you choose to do, and this is like 0.01%. Because of a massive influx into your bankroll, the relative importance of each individual tournament goes way down. And so taking it as seriously is a challenge. It's a goal of mine. So whenever I sit down to play the best I possibly can, but you have to realize, like when you're playing a $1 tournament with your boys around the kitchen table, things get absolutely chaotic and people are going all in with garbage. And that's just illustrative of the fact. So there is a line somewhere for each person where you don't care anymore. And I still care. Honestly, I decided I want to keep playing these kind of tournaments because I want experience and I want to win a circuit ring. And I more want to win these days than about the money. So that's why I'm here.
Yeah, that's great. Once you've got the finances are less stressful. Obviously, when you have a huge score like that, you're not worried about paying bills and things of that nature. Then you can really just say, I'm trying to get some jewelry. I'm trying to get some hardware, man. So that's cool. That's really cool. So I do wish you luck on day 2 of this, and I hope that you make a bunch more day 2s in the coming days out there at Thunder Valley. But now let's get into the strategy hand. Is this a hand that you think you might go over with Faraz next week? I don't want to try to compete with Faraz for, analyzing a poker hand. Don't do that to me, man.
No, I think for one, even if that were the case, I think there's value in that because I think everybody thinks about the game a little bit differently. And the goal is not to, say what the chart says, because we can all look up what the chart says.
Yeah.
But when you talk about it with people, it's like you get a glimpse into the mind of another poker player. And I think there's so much value in that because that's what we're trying to do all day at the poker table. We're trying to get into other people's minds and what they would do in said situation. But I'm not sure that we're going to go over this one. This is a non-stream hand. This is early-ish in day 2, midway through day 2. So we're not even in the money yet. And the ones we're going to focus on with Faraz is on stream. But if we need a little additional content, I'm going to email him a few extra hands such as this one. So it might be discussed. It might not. So this might be an exclusive. Okay.
I hope it is an exclusive because I just don't want people to compare my analysis to that of the great Faraz Jaca.
I don't know. That's what I'm going to be doing all day. I might have made multiple mistakes in this hand, so maybe we'll see what happens.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you've got the right attitude, and that is how we learn. You got to see how each player thinks because we don't play against GTO Wizard. We don't play against an AI robot. We play against actual humans. So, yeah, hearing somebody of my level versus somebody of Faraz's level. I mean, obviously, there's some things we'll hopefully both see the same way. But maybe I'll have a different take and he'll show you what a top level pro thinks. And then when you're sitting down in a $400 tournament, you might be better off trying to think like me than Faraz Jaca, right?
Well, yeah, I think this is a challenge for me. Poker players, for one, we're all a little egotistical to varying degrees. And you hate to be called out on your mistakes because it shows that you don't know something. And yet, if you're not called out on your mistakes and you don't realize you're making mistakes, then you're never going to stop making them and you're never going to grow. But at the same time, for me, it's very easy to get defensive or explain away your mistakes. So I had a read on this guy. Well, I deviated on purpose because this guy did this 3 hands ago. It's so easy to get defensive and to justify your actions. I'd encourage anyone who's trying to get better to just say, okay, maybe I am wrong here. Let's explore this and recognize that there's room for growth in those mistakes.
Yeah, I love that. A growth mindset is so important for anyone who's trying to get good at anything difficult. And poker certainly qualifies, right? Okay, so you said it's from early in day 2. What are the blinds?
We're playing 15K, 30K. I have just over 2.7 million in stack, so looking very healthy with 90 big blinds. And our villain is going to be under the gun, playing about 55 big blinds.
Okay,
so
and his stack, the villain's stack is probably a little closer to average at that point, right?
Yeah, I'd imagine 50 to 60 big blinds is average on day 2. I don't remember exactly, but he's got a healthy stack, and we have him well covered, obviously. Making our way towards the money. You make the money really towards the end of day 2. We're kind of halfway through day 2, so probably like 40% of the field remains, something like that.
Okay, so not exactly bubble time, but some people might be starting to become aware, especially those who are satellite winners and others for whom just even a min cash in this thing would be huge, which is probably a good number of the players. It's a lot of money for the min cash, like 50,000.
Yeah, 50,000. Well, for me, it was 75,000 because I qualified for the Paradise Parlay, so it's even bigger for me. I don't know if we talked about that. Some portion of the prize pool only applied to me.
Wait a minute. What's the Paradise Parlay? I don't think we discussed this at all.
Oh, you didn't know about this. This was really the entire reason I went to the Paradise. Paradise Parlay was a promotion that the WSOP ran to reward their most loyal players throughout the year and for the summer. You could qualify for this extra money in one of 3 ways. Either cashing 7 WSOP summer events, cashing the main event, or winning a bracelet throughout the entire calendar year. If you qualified in any of those 3 ways, which I did, then there's some bonus money for you. Not from the prize pool, just WSOP is giving you bonus money, kind of rake back. If you cash the super main, you get a bonus $25,000.
Wow.
If you final table the super main, you get a bonus $100,000. You
got that too.
I got that too. And if you win the thing, you get a bonus $250,000. So I was eligible for all those. So that's the whole reason I took this shot. There's just extra money available to me. It makes the min cash huge. So yeah, I'm grateful they ran it, obviously, because it worked out.
Yeah, I didn't know about that parlay, but also I didn't qualify. I didn't have any of those. I didn't meet any of those qualifications this year. Most of my cashes were actually outside of the World Series. I had a couple at the Wynn. I had a couple at Venetian, but I think I only had 3 WSOP cashes. So yeah, and obviously no bracelet for me. So. And I didn't catch the main event, so that's probably why I never got the email saying, "Hey, don't you want to come down here?" And I ended up at the Wynn. Anyway, back to you. So what's the action? Early position?
Yeah, under the gun. We're playing 8-handed as we did this entire tournament. So at the 30K big blind level, the under the gun makes it 65K. We are in the cutoff, and we look down at 2 black aces.
Okay.
So cutoff versus an under the gun open, 55 big blinds effective, 55 or 60. And we look down at 2 black aces. So what do you want to do, Clayton?
Yeah, let's go for the 3-bet here. I mean, I guess I would make it like 180, something like that.
Yeah,
3x. Yeah, just like we got to try to build a pot as best we can. He's got 55 big blinds, so I don't think slow playing makes a lot of sense. So I'm 3-betting probably every time here.
100%. Yeah, I think we're definitely 3-betting. The question is the size. As we get shallower, your 3-bets don't have to get as big. We're still fairly deep, so I think 3x is perfectly fine. But at the same time, I find that against an under-the-gun opener, obviously in this tournament, it's probably a pretty tight range. And I feel like the smaller you if you reduce it a little bit, you go like 2.8x, I think you get 4-bet more frequently by somebody who's holding like 10s, jacks, or queens. And I think if you go the full 3x, you just reduce that potential action somewhat. And obviously we want to build the pot, like you said, but I don't think he's ever opening under the gun and folding. Very, very rarely at this stack depth do we see under the gun opens and that fold to a 3-bet. So anyway, that's my justification. I go 165, which is going to be like 2.75, 2.8x. And with attempting to get 50 bigs in our desired run out, I think that's sufficient to do so.
Yeah, that's interesting that because you think he's never going to fold or very rarely going to raise fold, you went smaller because you're actually hoping he'll re-raise your 3-bet. That's interesting. Yeah, I probably wouldn't have thought of that. If I were that certain he wasn't going to fold, I might have made it 4x. but you're saying go a little bit smaller and hope that he puts in the 4-bet. That's very creative and something I might not have considered.
Yeah, you're sacrificing a little bit of the incremental pot size on the early streets in order to potentially get that 4-bet or ensure that he does call with the bottom of his opening range. So I don't think there's anything wrong with going 3x. I think that's perfectly standard. But I think this, you get some benefits towards using this size as well, including ensuring that you get that call with the bottom of his range.
Okay, so great. What's the pot size now, and what is the flop?
So we go 165. He calls 405K in the pot, and we get a very pretty disconnected rainbow jack of diamonds, 7 of spades, 3 of hearts. So no flush draws, no obvious straight draws in his range here. Obviously, we can be worried about jack, and 7-7. Probably doesn't have too much 3-3 under the gun, but really this is a pretty good flop for our aces, I think.
Yeah, I'm very happy with this flop for sure, and it's rainbow too. He's just got some gut shots and, like you say, very unlikely 3s, maybe 7s or jacks, but we can't worry about everything. All in all, I'm pretty happy with my aces. Does he check?
He does check. Yeah, I think you're right. I think he's very pair heavy, and those pairs are going to be between pocket 5s and pocket queens, because queens don't 4-bet always. So obviously, it's hard to make a set. The large majority of those pairs are just going to still be 1-pair hands. And then we have some stuff like king queen suited, king 10 suited, queen jack suited, ace jack suited. So a lot of hands that do connect with this board. And if they started as pocket pairs, then they're not going to believe our continuation bet quite a bit, or they can't hold the 1-bet because we still have a lot of ace king, ace queen, king queen, that sort of thing.
Right. And also we've kind of left ourselves a pretty chunky SPR situation here. It's around 4 if my math is right. So we do need to bet, obviously, on the flop. And I think we want to go kind of heavy here. Maybe I would bet like 2/3, maybe even 3/4 pot on this flop, because we've just got to start getting as many chips in as we can. And like you say, maybe we can even go bigger, because he's really not going to fold a pair of queens or any kind of jack. I doubt he would fold pocket 10s, pocket 9s. Yeah, if we bet really big, he might fold pocket 5s. But how much more value are we getting out of 5s anyway, right? On jack 7-3. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll push back a little bit on the needing to go big here, just because. So anytime you look at your hand strength and you see how many chips are in the opponent's stack, if we pile in 50 big blinds, are you really happy with pocket aces? Like, do you think he's piling in 50 big blinds with ace jack? Maybe some players would, but in this tournament, in this spot, I don't think I'm super happy to get all the chips in on the flop. And then you say, like, even setting up 3 streets, like, is this guy check calling with ace jack for all of his chips in his tournament life? I don't know. Like, maybe some players would, but I think a lot of people get away from that, or at least should get away from that. Under the gun range, 3-betting and under the gun range, and then going 3 streets. So yeah, maybe against certain player types, like you're happy to pile in 50 big blinds either on the flop or 3 streets with pocket aces. But I think most of the time when that happens in this field, you're probably beat. So I prefer to go a little smaller on the flop, and we can do so with our entire range. Then you do keep hands like pocket 5s, pocket 6s, pocket 8s around.
Whereas your philosophy, sorry, Terrance, go ahead.
Yeah. No. And whereas if you go 2/3 pot or 3/4 pot or something, pocket 5s might just fold because they don't want to play a bloated pot out of position.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I guess the decision you're basically making is that we're not trying to play with 1 pair for stacks. And I guess that in my mind, not knowing this player, I know that a lot of players that study GTO strategies, they would say something like, well, if I don't include ace jack in my bluff catching, check calling 3 streets range, then what is that range? Pocket queens only? And then they would say, I don't have enough calls and I'm too exploitable by players who want to triple barrel a lot. And so I think they do kind of level themselves into calling pretty often, even with hands like jack 10 suited. Because it's just, as long as it's still top pair at the end, right? Now, I could be wrong, and maybe, I haven't ever played a $26,000 buy-in tournament, so it could be that just all my bets are going to be taken way too seriously, and if I get 50 big blinds in, then it's always going to be better than aces, but I don't know. It's hard to have much better than aces on Jack 7-3 Rainbow, so yeah, I don't know. Okay, so it sounds like you went for the smaller bet, and your thinking is we're not playing for stacks anyway, so let's just get as much value as we can from those pairs, fives through queens.
Yeah, you're not ruling out playing for stacks. Going small on the flop doesn't necessarily prohibit you from doing so. Like on certain runouts, we can choose to. Let's say the turn's a 3. We can just size up huge on the turn, setting up a river shove if we want to, because the 3 would be one of the best cards in the deck, right? But if we get a poor run out, like if the run out comes queen king on the turn river, by using this size, we protect ourselves a little bit from having to play for stacks if we don't want to. So we keep our options open. We keep his range wide. If we do get check raised, then we can absolutely continue without fear. We're continuing either way, obviously, but it doesn't get so out of hand. I just think we keep control of the size of the pot by using the smaller size, and then we can still get it bigger if we choose to on the turn.
Right, and if so, we would probably need to overbet on 4th Street in order to get there.
Yeah, we're looking at. Well, we can talk about the pot size here once the call gets in, but yeah, we definitely still have options to get it all in if we want to. Sure. But this just gives us more options. Yeah.
Okay. It's good to have more options. And then also you make a bet that's easier for him to call with his worst hands because it's a smaller bet. So that's a good thing. So what did you make it?
So we go 100K, which is like 24%, and he calls.
Okay.
The idea for this as well, like he's probably not folding king queen for this price, 2 overs. Yeah, let me see a turn. Let me see if I can turn some more equity or turn a pair. So we would love for a hand like king queen or king 10 of diamonds to stick around or even check raise us. In this case, he does call.
Right. Yeah, that's great, because even if he has, like you say, king queen, if he's got king queen suited and he's got 3 diamonds on the flop, let's say, right? It's a rainbow flop. He's saying, I've got 2 overs, I've got backdoor straight and flush possibilities. Nobody's folding all that for 24% on the pot. So, yeah, in that sense, I like it because you can get called by pretty much his whole range. 90% of his range can call, and we want that.
Yeah, that's what I want. If you told me he had ace jack, I'd probably go bigger, because obviously, but we're targeting the whole range. Very happy with a quarter pot, and he does call.
Right,
which puts our pot at 605,000, and the 8 of diamonds rolls off on the turn. Okay,
so we've got a jack, 7, tray, 8 with 2 diamonds now.
Jack, 7, tray, 8, 2 diamonds. The jack of diamonds and the 8 of diamonds are out there. We got 2 black aces, and right now we're looking at about 2.2 to 1 SPR.
Okay. So villain has, sounds like 1.4 million. Okay.
1.4 million. Yep.
Okay. And he checks this card as well?
He does check it over to us.
Okay. Well, I mean, the 10-9 got there. I believe 10-9 suited can open and then call this little 3-bet pre-flop at this stack depth. So that's one hand to worry about. Pocket 8s. Obviously took the lead. Otherwise, there's nothing, right? 8-7, I guess, is possible as well, right? 8-7 suited, maybe a little loose, calling a 3-bet, but you did make it pretty small, so.
Yeah, I think you nailed the hands that improved to beat us with this card. It is important that it's a 7 of spades and an 8 of diamonds, so there's only 2 combos of 8-7 suited instead of 3. I don't think we're worried about a hand like Jack 8 suited. I think that's a little too wide in standard, but then a lot of hands picked up even more equity, like Jack 10 suited, Jack 9 suited. So those pick up gut shots, and they're going to be even more interested in the pot. And then hands like 8-9 suited now have a pair and a gut shot. So this hand with this card, it does improve a couple of his hands to beat us, but I think the large majority of his hands we're still ahead of, but now they are even more interested in the pot.
Right. Maybe this is a good card for us to kind of go big, like you said a minute ago, to get a lot of chips in so that we can maybe set up that river shove, or at least have the option of doing just that. So was that what you were thinking?
Yeah, it definitely crossed my mind. I think you can. This is a big decision point in the hand, and you can either go big or you can do what I did. And this is kind of the reason I wanted to share this hand, because this is probably not standard, but I chose to check back.
Okay. Yeah. So when we check back, we control the damage for when we did lose. Like if he has pocket eights, 10-9, other hands we just discussed that now have the lead. By checking back, we control the pot so we don't end up, as you said before, Terrance, getting 50 some big blinds in with just a pair of aces, right? The conventional wisdom about pocket aces is that it's a great hand to either win a small pot or lose a big one, right? So by checking back, you kind of prevent the worst case scenario, and you also make it way easier for you to get another street of value when you are ahead. You know, if the river comes a brick and he checks again, and even if he's got pocket nines or something at that point, unimproved, he might have to look you up, because when you check back the turn, it caps your range to an extent, right? You don't have pocket jacks when
Correct.
you check it back, right? So, yeah, I certainly don't hate checking back. I'll bet the solver will check back sometimes in this spot. And, you know, part of the philosophy of betting small on the flop was that we did want to keep our options open. And, you know, maybe like a good structure, like this tournament has a really nice, long, slow structure. You start with a 500,000 chips and everything. So maybe it's not bad to just kind of keep each small hand, small pot sort of, you know, parallel if you want. So, yeah, I don't hate it. So what happens on the river?
So there's there's pros and cons to each decision. You listed all the pros. The cons are we let a free card come off. Like if he has Jack 10, right? There's a lot. He can make a Jack, a 10, a 9 to beat us. If he has Jack Queen and a random Queen comes off, he beats us. And so a lot of people are results oriented in these spots. When you do check back and give a free card, if he gets there, man, you should have just 1 point when you bet pot, and then he has to fold. We're thinking how to extract the most value over time across all runouts against his entire range. And so, yeah, I choose to check back. I just don't really think, and part of this is what I talked about earlier, justification of interesting plays. I don't think this guy is calling me down for three streets with a pair, with just one pair. So I think in my head, this is a 2-street hand, and we're going to give a free card, play a little tricky, and then make our river decisions much easier. I check back, still 605 in the pot, and the river comes a 6 of clubs.
Okay, so just tell me the final board one time.
We're looking at Jack of diamonds, 7 of spades, 3 of hearts, 8 of diamonds, 6 of clubs. So no flush comes in, and really the only hand that I think improves here is like if he happened to have 6-7 suited or pocket sixes. Both of those are possible. Other than that, it's a pretty big blank.
Yeah, 5-4 suited might not even be in his under the gun opening range. Shouldn't be. Even 8-handed, I don't think it should be. So we're not too worried about that particular straight getting there. Yeah, 6-5 maybe. Okay. So this is mostly a blank. We're glad it's not a diamond, certainly. He checks again, I guess.
He does check again. On the river, he does not check. On the river, he does not check. On the river, he bets into 605. He bets 225. So he bets 40% pot or so into 605.
Yeah.
And this is probably the most interesting point. The turn's interesting, but this is an interesting choice here.
Right. You could say that we under-repped our hand. I don't know that I would agree that we under-repped our hand on the turn. I think there are a lot of merits to checking on the turn, but I think when you do slow down on the turn and then he bets, especially this sizing. I mean, maybe I'm just a fish and a payoff wizard, but I just think he can do this with ace jack. He can do this with pocket queens. He can do this with so many hands that aces are ahead of that I'm just not really in the business of folding. When I control the pot on the turn, Now I have a controllable pot on the river, and he makes a very reasonable small bet. I don't really fold in this situation very much. This is kind of what we set ourselves up to do. And I don't really see much value in raising to this bet because maybe there are a few hands that are better than one pair that might fold. Like you mentioned, 6-5. Does 6-5 want to play for stacks? I don't know.
Yeah. I think you're really close to where my perspective was. One, folding would be catastrophic and disastrous. Especially once you check back the turn, folding for this size is ludicrous because he has a lot of. Whenever we beat his value, obviously we have to call. And the idea, the whole point in turning this into a 2-street hand is that we get the extra data point of his size on the river to decide how we want to proceed. For this size, 1/3 pot, it really feels like a blocker bet, kind of trying to name his own price with pocket 9s, pocket 10s, jack 10, something like that. He might very much feel like he has the best hand. Like what if we have the 9s or the 10s and he has ace jack? Like he's trying to squeeze out some value from us. But the point that I disagree with you on is raising doesn't accomplish much because I wouldn't decide to raise to get a better hand to fold. I'm not turning aces into a bluff, but I think we can still extract some value from all the hands we just mentioned because our check back on the turn is going to make him question what we have. It's going to make it look like a bluff. It's going to make him doubt that his jack is no good, And whenever you choose to check back the turn and to pot control a little bit, sometimes it's valuable to look for that quote unquote missed value on the river. And so if he bet 2/3 pot or over pot, we just click the call button and live with whatever the result is. But for this size, I think he's opened the door for us to raise the river for value.
For value. So you're looking to get called by pocket queens, ace jack, and some of the hands that you said wouldn't call 3 streets if we bet 3 times. But now we end up getting 3 streets of value out of those hands because he's kind of telling you, I agree that this small bet does seem to indicate a pretty narrow value range on his part. It's probably a jack, maybe pocket queens that doesn't want it to go check on the river. Right. So it does feel like that. Now, some really sophisticated players will make a play like this with a more of a nutted hand. And then if I'm raising into that range, I'm in big trouble with my 1 pair hand. But yeah, I mean, you were sitting there and you have a better sense of this player and of the field in general than I do, never having played in that particular tournament or tournaments of that level. So, yeah, I mean, I'm going to trust your judgment. And if you feel like you have a value raise here, that's a pretty large criteria that we have to meet. It's got to be he's doing this for value with a hand that can call the raise and is worse than 1 pair of aces. So how much did you make it? Like 800?
All those things are true. And yet I think this fits perfectly into all of that criteria. But also, if he has a hand that beats aces, a large percent of the time, he's going to 3-bet too, not just call. Like you said, if you're raising it, like if he has pocket 8s, then he's probably just going to jam over my raise. And then we can I planned on comfortably folding against range. But there are a lot of guys who will punt it. Let's say I'm playing against Steven Chidwick, who has pocket 9s. I cap my range on the turn, and then he bets and I raise. He can just jam pocket 9s as a bluff.
Yeah, he bluffs the nuts, yeah.
Right, so I'd be more hesitant to make this play against somebody who's going to punish me for raising for thin value. But I do think aces are too good here to just call and miss out on all this additional value. So I do raise it up. I raise it up to, let's see, 625,000. So I give them a nice, sometimes it's a nice even price, a nice even 400K, right?
Just 400 more, just 400 more. Yeah.
It's just 4 chips. You just flip in 4 chips. You don't have to do any math. 225 to 625. Make it really easy for him to just flick it in with Queen Jack suited. So right now he has to call 400K to win a pot of 1.8 million. So he has to be, 1 out of 4.5 times he has to be right. So that, if you want to give him a price that you just flick it in with 1 pair and say, well, I can't fold for that price. So 625 is what I made it. You want the reveal?
Yes, let's hear the reveal.
He does think for about 30 seconds and tosses in the call. Once he just calls, we're very happy. Obviously, we turn over aces.
Right? Yeah,
we turn over aces and he mucks. So we win a pot of 1.8 million. I think we maybe get the max. I don't know. There's a chance that just firing all 3 streets, we do get called, and we didn't make the max here. But against his overall range and all the different game trees here, I'm very happy with the way this one played out.
Well, that is fantastic. I mean, what a great hand. You definitely got a lot more value playing it that way than I would have. Although maybe, to be fair, I might have gotten about the same by betting on the turn instead of checking back. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, that's another way to get there. And you end up value owning him. So he bet called with worse than aces. I'm guessing he may have had pocket queens or a strong jack, right?
Yeah, the thing is, like a hand like pocket 9s or 10s is a very similar hand, right? Because if I'm raising here after my capped check back on the turn, I probably either have a bluff or a hand that beats a jack. Or a hand that beats pocket queens. So he's just bluff catching and probably not, it's all the same at that point. And so whether he had pocket deuces or ace jack, like they beat my bluffs and they lose to my value. So he just has to ask himself, am I bluffing enough to get the right price here?
It's amazing. Yeah, this is great, Terrance. Man, I really appreciate you coming back on the podcast and bringing such an interesting hand. You guys want more of this? Make sure you join us next Wednesday, the 28th. First, you have to create an account. It's jaca.poker/TPE, and then use the link in the description to join the live coverage of the hand history review, the coaching session, whatever you want to call it. It's going to be a lot of fun. And TJ, I'm glad that now that you're a multi-millionaire, you still have time for the little people like me, and that you don't big time me and pretend that you don't know my name, and that you would still be humble enough to join me here on the Tournament Poker Edge podcast.
No, I feel like I'm lucky to be here. You are my people, and that's why I'm going down to play a $400 tournament here in a few minutes. This is what I want to keep doing. Yeah, this is fun.
Before you go, let's plug your YouTube. Tell people where they can find you.
On YouTube, TJ Reed Poker. Across all socials, you can find me with either TJ Reed Poker or TJ Reed 1. The channel is called Torching with TJ. We basically did 2 full videos that have performed really, really well. People are giving good feedback about this super main event run. So if you want hand breakdowns like this, as well as behind the scenes stuff, how I was feeling in the moment, what it's like to sleep for 4 hours at a time while playing for most people's houses. Go check it out, TJ Reed Poker, and say hi. We're going to continue to keep that channel going this year.
That's really cool. Good luck out there in Thunder Valley and everywhere else that you go. And TJ, thank you so much for joining us once again.
Thank you for having me, Clayton.
So for TJ, Terrence Reed, and for everyone else here at Tournament Poker Edge, with special thanks to our sponsor, Jaca Coaching, I'm Clayton Fletcher. Thank you so much for listening.